Good morning all. Welcome. We're finishing up the back of the bowl that I did last weekend. It has been power sanded through 400, and I'm going to do a little bit of 800 grit random orbit to remove any leftover scratches that may occur in the other sanding process. When you do it in a little random orbit pattern, your eye will not be able to pick up any of these little scratches. This just makes your finishing process a little bit easier. After that, we'll grab a paper towel, give it a nice little mist of denatured alcohol to wipe off any of the dust that's left behind that you just created. And then we'll be ready to apply the finish. My finish of choice is the Parfix 3408 slow setting CA glue. Does wonders on many things. Let that a little spin to get it dry. So we only take a couple seconds because the alcohol dries quickly. Check, see how much we got any of the grain raised up. No, because I did a good job on the sanding part. So we'll be on to finishing. Once again, we're going to use a paper towel. We're going to use a piece of polyester felt inside the paper towel, which is going to give us a nice little reservoir to hold the glue in there. And give us a nice little pad to work with. Like I said, we're going to use a Parfix 3408, which is a slow setting, super thin CA glue. It has a 40-second working time. It is considered their wicking grade, so it does sink in quite a ways. And we'll try and find the end grain. This thing's got grain going every which way but loose, but we'll put on a nice, thick, generous coat because we're trying to saturate the wood. This is not a top coat, not a sit on the surface kind of a finish. This is going to soak in, which is what we want it to do. I'm going to saturate it. Go around a couple times. Like I said, we got 40 seconds to get this job done before it starts to set up. So there's no hurry. Just keep rubbing it in until we start getting some sitting on the surface. Which certain woods, which this is one of them, it's sort of this is a sugar maple, so it's sort of soft, very absorbent. You can see right there in the hard grain, it's already at the point where it's not going to soak anymore in. But the softer stuff's still soaking in quite nicely. This is a one coat application. We'll let it set up and cure, and then we'll buff it either later today or tomorrow. It has a 24-hour cure time, which means that in 24 hours from now, it'll be as hard as it's ever going to get. So if you have patience and wait the 24 hours, you will get a little bit better shine out of it than you will if you get in a hurry and buff it in the next 10 or 15 minutes. We'll just keep rubbing it in, making sure we get it saturated, especially up along the bark area. As it did manage to keep the bark, so we'll try and keep it there. Looks like we're pretty close to saturation. If you use this product on a really thin bowl, this bowl is about 3/8 of an inch thick. If you go down to a quarter or maybe less if there's open grain, it's liable to go right straight through to the other side, which can cause a bit of aggravation. So at that point, then I generally will finish the inside first, then go to the outside. In this case, the inside of this one's already finished. So I managed to do that last weekend before I flipped it back around to do its sanding on this side. And then we'll wipe off the excess. And you can see we're not getting a little bit off of this one, a little bit more than some, because of that hard squirrely grain in there. That's all there is to it. You probably won't be able to see on camera the amount. You can see a little bit of the dark area. There's not much come back off, but it's done. That's all there is to it. Let it set up and buff it, and you're done. It doesn't get any easier. It doesn't get any quicker. But in the interest of being able to take this off and not mess anything up, I'll hit it with accelerator at about 18 to 24 inches away above it and let the mist land on it. This is also a low odor, no smoking paper towels. Even their accelerator is a heptane based rather than an acetone based, so there's very little odor to that as well. The only thing you'll smell out of that is a little bit of the propellant, because that can there is about empty. That's it. We'll set it off to the side and let it dry for a couple hours, and maybe till this evening I'll come back down and take the tenant off and buff it up. Show you what that part looks like. Okay, now we can move on to making some mess instead of finishing. It's really a pretty simple product to work with. Since it is slow setting, it gives you all kind of time to do some interesting things with it. There's the inside of it. That was finished last weekend. And then, like I say, we'll wait till a little bit later on today sometime and we'll buff the rest of it. And maybe go back and hit the bark with a little bit of glue to make sure it stays where it wants to be. I have to clean that up a little bit. There's some sawdust stuck in some of the cracks.